High Admiral Vexterra of the HFY Scientific Fleet stood motionless before the quantum blast viewport, her iridescent scales reflecting the blue marble of Earth below. The planet's beauty wasn't what held her attention. It was the peculiar arrangement of satellites and stations dotting the orbital lanes. After 3 centuries of first contact missions, something about this emerging civilization felt different. Preliminary scans complete, High Admiral announced First Observer Keelan, his tentacles dancing across the holographic interface. Their technological development is puzzling. Vexterra turned, her head crest rising slightly in curiosity. Elaborate. Their primary space vessels still rely on chemical propulsion. Their energy generation systems are largely based on nuclear fission and primitive solar collection. But Keelan paused, his upper eyes narrowing. Their engineering precision is remarkable. They're achieving nearly theoretical maximum efficiency from these basic technologies. The High Admiral returned her gaze to Earth, watching as a bulky human cargo vessel made its way toward one of their lunar colonies. The ship's chemical engines burned with perfect precision. Not a newton of thrust wasted. They're doing more with less, she mused. What of their defensive capabilities? That's another anomaly, Keelan responded, bringing up a detailed scan of Earth's orbital infrastructure. They maintain an extensive network of satellites and stations, but we detect no energy weapons, no quantum shields, not even basic particle beams. Just conventional materials and what appears to be primitive radar systems. A species achieving interplanetary travel without developing energy weapons. Vexterra's scales shifted to a thoughtful blue-green. That's unprecedented. High Admiral called out Defense Coordinator Mira from her station. I'm detecting multiple approaching vessels from Earth. Chemical propulsion, minimal energy signatures. Classifications appear to be their standard patrol craft. Open communications, Vexterra ordered. Let's see how they handle first contact. The response came faster than expected, transmitted on precisely the frequencies the HFY ship was monitoring. A human appeared on the main display, wearing what their database identified as a military uniform. Unknown vessels, this is Admiral Sarah Chen of the Earth Defense Force. You've entered restricted space. Please maintain your current position while we establish diplomatic protocols. Vexterra noted the calm professionalism in the human's voice. No panic, no awe at meeting an advanced alien civilization. Just measured protocol. Greetings, Admiral Chen. I am High Admiral Vexterra of the HFY Scientific Fleet. We come in peace to welcome humanity into the greater galactic community. We appreciate your peaceful approach, High Admiral, Chen replied with a slight smile. However, in the future, we request all vessels approach through our designated vectors. We maintain these protocols for everyone's safety. Keelan transmitted privately to Vexterra. They're acting as if they have meaningful defensive capabilities against our technology level. Either they're overconfident, or we're missing something. Vexterra finished silently. Aloud, she addressed Chen. Of course, Admiral. We meant no disrespect. Perhaps we could begin diplomatic exchanges. We have much to share about the galaxy. We'd be delighted, Chen responded. We're transmitting coordinates for a dock at our primary orbital station. And High Admiral, we look forward to sharing some surprises of our own. As their ship maneuvered toward the designated coordinates, Vexterra watched Earth's defensive grid silently tracking their movement. The humans' entire orbital infrastructure appeared deceptively simple, yet something about its arrangement nagged at her tactical instincts. They were missing something important. High Admiral, Mira called out. I've completed a deeper scan of their orbital platforms. The power signatures are minimal, but the positioning. It's perfect for a multi-layer defense system. Yet we detect no weapons. What do you make of it, Mira? The defense coordinator's scales shifted to a troubled purple. Either they're completely defenseless against modern space warfare, or they have capabilities our scans can't detect, given their level of engineering precision elsewhere. Vexterra nodded slowly. Continue passive scans. And Mira, Let's be very careful about following their protocols. I have a feeling we're about to learn why humanity has advanced so far without energy weapons." As their ship approached the orbital station, Vexterra watched the deceptively simple human vessels escorting them. She had conducted first contact with dozens of species, but something about humanity's quiet confidence made her scales tingle. They were about to discover that humanity's path to the stars had taken a very different route than the rest of the galaxy, and she suspected that route might be more dangerous than anyone expected. 3 weeks into their diplomatic mission, First Observer Keelan found himself increasingly fascinated by the humans' orbital defense station. He stood in the observation deck alongside Dr. Maya Rodriguez, Earth's chief of technological exchange, watching a cargo vessel depart for Mars. "Your engine efficiency is remarkable," Keelan noted, his tentacles rippling with scientific interest. "You're achieving thrust ratios that most species don't manage even with quantum drives." Maya smiled, adjusting her glasses. "We learned early on that space travel isn't about having the most advanced technology. It's about maximizing what you have. Every gram of fuel matters." Keelan's sensors detected the subtle pride in her voice. The humans had taken their primitive chemical rockets and refined them to near perfection. But it was their orbital defense network that truly puzzled him. The massive platforms positioned throughout Earth's sphere of influence appeared to serve no clear purpose, maintaining only minimal power signatures. "Dr. Rodriguez," he ventured, "I've been studying your defense platforms. Their positioning suggests a sophisticated network, yet they seem to lack any significant defensive capabilities." "Seem to." Maya's smile widened slightly. "First Observer, has it occurred to you that perhaps we've simply taken a different approach to space warfare?" Before Keelan could respond, alarms blared throughout the station. Maya's expression shifted instantly from casual to professional. "Excuse me, but we have a situation developing. Please remain in the observation deck." Keelan watched as she moved quickly to a nearby console, bringing up a holographic display of the solar system. Multiple red dots appeared at the system's edge, approaching rapidly. "Unidentified vessels entering the system," announced the station's eye. "No recognition codes. Quantum signatures match known pirate configurations." Maya opened a comm channel. "This is Defense Station Aegis. Unidentified vessels, you are entering restricted space. Maintain your current position and prepare for identification protocols." The response came in the form of weapons fire. Energy beams lanced out from the approaching ships, aimed at the station's outer defense platforms. Keelan's scales rippled with alarm. Those were military-grade plasma weapons, far beyond anything the humans should be able to handle. To his surprise, Maya remained calm. "They're testing our defenses," she noted clinically. "Standard pirate procedure. First Observer, you might want to pay attention to this. You've been curious about our defensive capabilities after all." The pirates' energy weapons struck the seemingly defenseless platforms and accomplished nothing. No explosions, no destruction. The platforms simply absorbed or deflected the attacks through means Keelan's sensors couldn't identify. "Impossible," he whispered. "Those platforms showed no shield signatures, no defensive systems at all." "Metamaterials," Maya explained, still focused on her console. "Engineered at the molecular level to disperse energy weapons. No power signature because they don't need one. It's all in the material structure." The pirate vessels pressed their attack, moving closer to Earth. Maya opened a channel to the defense network. "All platforms, initiate tracking protocols. Load kinetic packages." Keelan watched in fascination as the orbital platforms suddenly came alive with activity. Massive railguns emerged from what he had assumed were communication arrays, their electromagnetic coils humming with power. "You see, First Observer," Maya said, her voice carrying a hint of satisfaction. While the rest of the galaxy focused on energy weapons and quantum shields, humanity took a different path. We looked at the fundamental physics of space warfare and asked ourselves, what never goes out of style? The platforms aligned with terrible precision, their railguns tracking the approaching pirate vessels. Maya's fingers danced across her console, and the answer was simple: kinetic energy. No shield in the galaxy can ignore the laws of momentum. But Keelan's scientific mind raced to process the implications. The targeting precision required at these distances, the calculations for stellar mechanics and gravitational influences. Like I said, Maya smiled, her finger hovering over the firing control. We got very, very good at maximizing what we have. Defense platforms, you have permission to fire. The railguns spoke as one. There was no dramatic light show, no visible energy beams, just the silent launch of hypervelocity projectiles, accelerated to a significant fraction of light speed. The pirates, their ships optimized for defense against energy weapons, never had a chance to react. The first volley struck with devastating precision. Kinetic kills, clean and absolute. Remaining pirate vessels attempted to quantum jump away, but the humans' targeting systems had already predicted their escape vectors. A second volley ended the threat permanently. Maya turned to Keelan, whose scales had shifted to a pale shade of shock. Now you understand why we didn't bother with energy weapons. They're flashy, yes, but there's something elegant about classical physics. A mass accelerated to sufficient velocity solves most problems. Keelan stared at the tactical display, where debris from the pirate vessels was already being tracked and logged. The humans hadn't just developed an alternative to energy weapons. They had perfected it, creating a defense system that was virtually invisible until the moment it struck. Dr. Rodriguez, he said slowly, I believe the HFY scientific fleet will need to significantly revise our assessment of Earth's technological status. That would be wise. Maya agreed, already coordinating cleanup operations. And first observer, this was just a small demonstration. You haven't seen our main defense grid yet. Keelan's scales shifted to a deeper shade of worry. Somewhere in Earth orbit, the massive railgun platforms continued their silent watch, ready to remind anyone who threatened humanity that sometimes the simplest solutions were the most deadly. High Admiral Vexterra stood in Earth's Strategic Command Center, her scales shifting through shades of astonishment as she watched the tactical replay of the pirate engagement. Beside her, Admiral Chen manipulated the holographic display, highlighting key moments of the battle. Your reaction mirrors first observer Keelan's, Chen noted, a slight smile playing at her lips. Everyone expects energy weapons. Nobody expects magnetically accelerated tungsten rods. The precision required. Vexterra's head crest rose in appreciation. At those distances, accounting for gravitational influences, stellar wind, relative velocities, it's astounding. That's the real secret, Chen acknowledged, expanding the display to show Earth's full defense network. The railguns themselves. That's relatively simple physics. The hard part was developing the computational systems to make them effective weapons in space combat. The display showed a web of overlapping fields of fire, each platform connected to a network of sensors and predictive systems. Vexterra realized that what they had initially dismissed as primitive radar installations were actually part of a sophisticated targeting grid. You've turned your entire solar system into one interconnected targeting computer, she said, understanding dawning. Every satellite, every platform, every sensor array, all working together, Chen confirmed. When we first started reaching for the stars, we studied the remains of ancient space battles we found in nearby systems. The evidence was clear. Energy weapons had dominated space warfare for millennia. Every species developed them as soon as they could. The Admiral walked to a nearby window, looking out at the Earth below. But we ask ourselves, what if that was the wrong path? Energy weapons require enormous power generation. They need complex targeting systems. The very physics of space works against their effectiveness at long ranges. Vexterra moved to join her at the window. While kinetic weapons only become more deadly with distance, once you solve the targeting challenge. Exactly. No complex power requirements. No exotic materials needed for the weapons themselves. Just mass, velocity, and extremely precise mathematics. Chen turned to face the Zephyri admiral. We took the resources we would have spent developing energy weapons and instead focused on two things: computational power and material science. The display shifted to show the molecular structure of the metamaterials used in Earth's defensive platforms. These materials don't just absorb or deflect energy weapons, they gather data from every impact. Each attack makes our targeting systems more precise, our defensive capabilities more refined. A junior officer approached with a datapad. "Admiral Chen, we've completed the analysis of the pirate vessel's debris. You'll want to see this." Chen studied the pad, her expression growing serious. "Well, this complicates things." She handed the pad to Vextara. Those weren't standard pirates. The quantum signatures match Crixian military technology. Vextara's scales shifted to alarm patterns. The Crixians were a notoriously aggressive species that had been pushing the boundaries of civilized space for decades. They were testing your defenses. Yes, but they learned the wrong lesson. Chen brought up a new tactical display. They saw our railguns in action, but they don't know about our main defensive grid. They'll come back thinking they just need to develop countermeasures for what they observed. "You have more weapons?" Vextara asked, her scientific curiosity piqued. "Hi, Admiral." Chen's smile returned, but there was an edge to it now. "Those platforms you saw in action. They're our tertiary defense system, the old models we keep around for small threats. Would you like to see what happens when Earth really goes to war?" Before Vextara could respond, new alerts flashed across the command center's displays. Multiple quantum ruptures were detected at the edge of the solar system, far more than the previous encounter. "Right on schedule," Chen muttered, already moving to the main tactical station. "They never can resist coming back for a second round." "Hi, Admiral, if you care to stay, you're about to witness why humanity chose to perfect kinetic warfare instead of following the rest of the galaxy into energy weapons." Vextara watched as Earth's orbital defense platforms began to move with purpose, realigning themselves into new configurations she hadn't seen before. Deep in the asteroid belt, and scattered throughout the solar system, massive structures that had appeared to be mining installations began to power up. "All defense grids to combat status," Chen ordered, her voice carrying the weight of absolute authority. "Prepare to show our uninvited guests why you don't pick a fight with a species that turned Isaac Newton's laws into an art form." The Crixian fleet emerged from quantum space in attack formation, their energy weapons already charging. They had no way of knowing they were about to encounter humanity's real defense capabilities, or that their appearance would forever change how the galaxy viewed warfare in space. The Crixian battle fleet materialized in a cascade of quantum distortions, 40 ships strong. Their crystalline hulls bristled with energy weapons, shields already at maximum power. In Earth's strategic command center, High Admiral Vextara watched the tactical display with growing concern. "Those are Crixian dreadnoughts," she said, scales shifting to warning colors. "Their shields can withstand sustained fire from our most powerful energy weapons." Admiral Chen nodded calmly, studying the tactical readouts. Impressive ships, state-of-the-art energy shields, quantum-reinforced hulls, enough firepower to reduce a planet's surface to slag. She paused, a slight smile forming. "Tell me, High Admiral, do you know why we chose to base our largest railgun platforms in the asteroid belt?" Before Vextara could respond, the command center's main display lit up with new sensor data. Throughout the asteroid belt, what had appeared to be mining installations were transforming. Massive electromagnetic accelerator rings emerged from their disguised housings, each many kilometers in length. Maximum effective range of energy weapons in space combat is roughly 1 light second, Chen explained, watching the Crixian fleet advance. Beyond that, dispersion and targeting difficulties make them inefficient, but a properly accelerated mass projectile, that just keeps going. The Crixian commander's voice boomed through the command center. "Primitive humans, Your railgun toys may have surprised our scouts, but they cannot penetrate our shields. Surrender your system now, and we may spare your major population centers. Chen opened a channel to all Earth defense platforms. All units, initiate Operation Isaac. Authorization code. Newton's fourth law. Newton only proposed 3 laws of motion. Vexterra noted, confused. Exactly. Chen smiled. The 4th one is ours. Don't mess with humans in space. Throughout the solar system, humanity's true defense grid awakened. The asteroid belt platforms began to move, their massive accelerator rings aligning with calculated precision. From the Kuiper belt, long dormant weapons platforms ended their years of silent waiting. Even the seemingly innocent communications satellites in Earth orbit revealed hidden capabilities. First wave, fire when ready, Chen ordered. The asteroid belt platforms fired as one. Their electromagnetic accelerators launched specially engineered projectiles at velocities approaching a significant fraction of light speed. Each projectile was a marvel of material science, constructed to maintain structural integrity at speeds that would vaporize conventional materials. The Crixian fleet detected the launches and adjusted their shields, expecting a repeat of the previous encounter's tactics. But these weren't the same railguns they had witnessed before. Fun fact about kinetic weapons, Chen commented as they watched the tactical display. Double the mass, or double the velocity, and you quadruple the energy. These platforms have acceleration rings kilometers long. Care to guess what kind of velocities we can achieve? The first wave struck the Crixian fleet 11 seconds later. Their advanced shields, designed to dissipate and deflect energy weapons, proved almost irrelevant against pure kinetic force. 3 dreadnoughts simply ceased to exist, converted into expanding clouds of plasma by the transfer of kinetic energy. Impossible. The Crixian commander's voice had lost its arrogant edge. No projectile weapon cooled. Second wave. Fire. Chen interrupted calmly. This time, the Kuiper belt platforms joined in. Their projectiles had been accelerating for even longer distances, achieving velocities that made their impacts resemble small nuclear explosions. You focused so much on defending against energy, Chen transmitted to the Crixian fleet, that you forgot the basics of physics. At these velocities, our projectiles impact with more energy than your largest weapons can generate. And unlike energy weapons, shields don't help much against momentum. The Crixian fleet attempted to retreat, their quantum drives powering up for emergency translation. But humanity's targeting computers had been predicting their likely escape vectors since before the first shot was fired. The third wave of projectiles intercepted them precisely as they began their quantum jumps. When it was over, the only evidence of the once mighty Crixian fleet was an expanding field of debris that Earth's tracking systems were already cataloging for future study. Clean up crews to their stations, Chen ordered. Let's make sure none of that debris enters any populated orbital paths. She turned to Vexterra, whose scales had shifted to a color indicating deep shock. Questions, High Admiral. Why? Vexterra struggled to process what she had witnessed. Why did you let everyone believe you were technologically behind us? You could have demonstrated this capability at any time. Chen's expression grew serious. Because sometimes the best defense isn't having the biggest weapons. It's having weapons no one expects. The galaxy spent millennia perfecting energy weapons and quantum shields. We spent that time mastering the fundamental physics that everyone else considered too primitive to be worth studying. The galaxy will never be the same after this, Vexterra said quietly. Every spacefaring species will have to reevaluate their entire approach to defense. That's the idea, Chen agreed. Though I suspect most of them won't like the lesson. Sometimes the simplest solution is still the best. Sir Isaac Newton really is the deadliest son of a bitch in space. 1 month after the Crixian incident, the Galactic Council's emergency session was in its 3rd day of deliberations. High Admiral Vexterra stood before the assembled representatives of 200 spacefaring civilizations, her scales maintaining a steady blue of diplomatic calm despite the chaos around her. "The footage you have witnessed is authentic," she announced, silencing the murmuring crowd. "Humanity's kinetic weapon platforms completely neutralized a Crixian battle fleet using technology that most of us considered obsolete centuries ago." The HFY Scientific Fleet's detailed analysis played above the council chamber. It showed the devastating efficiency of Earth's defense network, the precision of their targeting systems, and most importantly, the fundamental shift in military doctrine their approach represented. A Meridian delegate, their crystalline form vibrating with agitation, spoke up. "This cannot be allowed. They have destabilized millennia of military doctrine. Every defense system in the galaxy is designed around energy weapons and quantum shields." "That's exactly the point," a new voice responded. Admiral Chen walked onto the council floor, her dress uniform pristine. "We studied your military doctrine, learned its weaknesses, and developed countermeasures you never considered." The chamber erupted in a mixture of outrage and fascination. Chen waited for the noise to subside before continuing. "Humanity doesn't seek to destabilize galactic peace, but we do think it's time for some fresh perspectives on space warfare." She gestured, and a new hologram appeared, a technical diagram of Earth's defense systems. "We're prepared to share some of our technological developments with the galactic community. Not the weapons themselves, but the underlying principles of our computational systems and material science." "Why would you share such advantages?" asked the Tellarite representative, their antennae twitching suspiciously. "Because the greatest threat to peace isn't technological superiority," Chen replied. "It's stagnation. The galaxy has followed the same technological path for so long that it stopped looking for alternatives. That's dangerous." Vexterra stepped forward. "The HFY Scientific Fleet supports this initiative. Humanity has demonstrated not just military prowess, but a fundamentally different approach to technological development. Their methodology of maximizing primitive technology rather than always seeking more exotic solutions, it has applications far beyond warfare." The hologram shifted to show civilian applications, more efficient space mining operations using refined mass driver technology, improved planetary defense systems against asteroids, and new approaches to space construction. "The Crixians made a critical mistake," Chen continued. "They assumed that because we hadn't developed energy weapons, we were technologically inferior. They forgot that technology isn't about having the most advanced solution. It's about having the most effective one." She paused, looking around the chamber. "Humanity is joining the galactic community not just as another spacefaring species, but as a reminder that there are always new ways to approach old problems. Yes, our railguns changed the face of space warfare, but the real revolution isn't in our weapons, it's in our way of thinking." A quiet moment passed as the implications sank in. Then the Arcturian delegate raised their appendage. The Arcturian technocracy would be interested in establishing a joint research initiative, focusing on combining our quantum technology with human computational systems. Others quickly followed. The Meridian Collective offered their expertise in crystalline structures to help improve projectile design. The Tellarites proposed a collaborative effort to develop new space mining techniques using refined mass driver technology. Vexterra's scales shifted to pleased purple as she watched the council chamber transform from a scene of chaos to one of collaborative excitement. This was why the HFY had sought out new civilizations, not just to find new technologies, but to find new ways of thinking. Admiral Chen joined her at the observer's podium. "Not bad for a species that still uses primitive chemical rockets," she said with a smile. "I've learned not to underestimate human ingenuity," Vexterra replied. "Though I am curious, you mentioned sharing some of your technological developments. Just how many surprises do you still have hidden in that solar system of yours?" Chen's smile widened slightly. "High Admiral, if there's one thing humanity has truly mastered, it's the art of keeping something in reserve. Let's just say that railguns aren't the only old ideas we've been refining. As the council chamber buzzed with excitement over new technological partnerships, Vexterra reflected on how quickly everything had changed. The galaxy had worried about humanity's potential impact on the galactic community, never suspecting that their greatest contribution wouldn't be new technology, but a reminder that progress doesn't always mean abandoning the old for the new. Sometimes, it means looking at what everyone else has overlooked and asking, what if we just made this really, really good? The age of energy weapons dominance was over. The age of human innovation had begun.